Hi, welcome. I'm Cadet Inspector Jianwei. Today, we are going to find out more about managing conflicts. Do have your cadet manual ready to take down notes. Here is the scope that we will be covering for this lecture. What exactly is a conflict? A psychological contract, the relationship between conflicts and leadership, the two kinds of conflicts, dysfunctional and functional, and the different styles to manage conflicts. First of all, what is a conflict? A conflict exists whenever people are in disagreement and opposition. Some examples are fights, arguments, or even quarrels. Now, why do conflicts occur? Conflicts occurs as people do not perceive things exactly the same way. This means that people have different thinking and ideas in a situation, and they do not agree with each other. It is also unavoidable as we cannot prevent people from thinking how they think. For example, when you go out with your friends and all of you want to have different food for dinner, a conflict may occur as all your ideas are different and you may even quarrel over what to have for dinner. To explain the previous point further, we see things not as how they are, but as we are. It means that we are seeing things from our point of view only. Therefore, most conflicts occur when people do not see where the other party is coming from and assumptions are made too. There is a psychological contract and all human relationships rely on it. A psychological contract is the unwritten expectations of everyone in a relationship. An example is that you will want your superior to acknowledge your effort if you have done well. However, you do not go to your superior and demand for an acknowledgement. Therefore, this is why it is an unwritten expectation and is a basic need for all human relationships. Conflict arises when the psychological contract breaks. As we mentioned in the previous slide, we expect our superiors to acknowledge us for our effort if we have done well in something. If our superiors do not do that, this means that he or she is not meeting our expectation, and the psychological contract will be broken. This will result in unhappiness between the two of you and is usually the starting point of most conflicts. To elaborate further, a psychological contract is broken for two reasons. First, we fail to make known our own expectations and fail to inquire into the expectation of the other parties. This means that when people do not want to share their expectations or concern, misunderstanding will occur and will result in a conflict. In addition, we further assume the other party has the same expectations we hold for ourselves. To avoid this, it is good to constantly share our thinking and expectations with people around us. This will allow everyone to know each other better, and fewer misunderstandings will occur as we all know what to expect from each other. How do we preserve and not break this psychological contract? As mentioned before, we have to know it is important to share information and negotiate expectations assertively. Think about it. How will someone behave and act towards your expectations if you do not state them in the first place? One example could be, as cadet leaders, we usually tell cadets what we want to see in them. This expectation is first made known to them so that they will behave according to what we expect from them. This will prevent less time wastage on reminders or scoldings if our expectations are not made known to them. Conflicts are happening everywhere, and even the leaders of our country are exposed to conflict every day. Can you think of some examples where you can see them in conflicts? Why do they do so? Write your thoughts down on your cadet manual and your cadet inspector will go through this with you during the next training. The ability to resolve conflicts will have a direct impact on your leadership skills. When you are able to resolve conflicts, people will see you as their leader and will go to you when they meet with an argument. Therefore, managing conflicts has become increasingly important and for decision making in the team. Now we'll be covering on dysfunctional and functional conflicts. Before that, people usually think that conflicts as fighting, and viewed as disruptive. However, conflict is not fighting, but fighting is conflict. We will see why this is so in the next few slides. These functional conflicts are conflicts that prevent the achievement of the organization objectives. It happens when the conflict is not resolved effectively and negative consequences will occur. This type of conflict is not helpful in a team and does not help the team in moving forward. I'll give you an example of the difference between dysfunctional and functional conflicts in the next slide. The reverse of dysfunctional conflicts is functional conflicts, which happen when both parties, although in opposition, supports the achievement of organizational objectives. These kinds of conflicts are encouraged. For example, two cadet leaders are quarreling about whose laptop to use for a lecture. This does not serve any benefit to the lecture, as both laptops can be used, and this argument can be avoided. In another example, the two cadet leaders are quarreling about whose method is better in teaching drills to the cadets. This is a functional conflict, as looking for a better method to teach cadets will benefit the organization, which is NPCC, where our objective is to pass down knowledge to our cadets in the best way possible. As mentioned earlier, functional conflicts not only increase the quality of the group discussion, but it also leads to innovative change. The question now is, how do we manage a conflict to benefit the organization? This slide shows a graph on the effect of conflict and organization performance. As you can see, if there is too little or too much conflict, the organization performance will drop. Hence, the organization needs to have the optimal amount of conflict to ensure that it will be high performance. It needs some conflicts to ensure innovative changes, but not too much as it will eventually disrupt the performance of the organization. There are two types of conflict. First is the problem-oriented conflict, whereby the solution focuses on finding a mutual satisfactory solution to the problem. This means that when we solve the problem, there will be no more conflict. Secondly, the relationship-oriented conflict, whereby the conflict resolution focuses on reducing hostility and distrust between two parties. This means that there are unhappiness between two or more groups of people. And to resolve the conflict, we need to tackle the reason behind this unhappiness between the people. To add on, in solving relationship-oriented conflict, a person needs to focus on the behavior of the parties involved and not the person. The person needs to have good communication skills and feedback to resolve it effectively. In summary, problem-oriented conflicts involve technical solutions, while relationship-oriented conflicts require understanding and communication to resolve. In conflict management, we should focus more on our own conflicts in our personal and professional lives instead of others' conflicts. But it does not mean you should ignore others. If we are unable to solve our own conflicts, how are we going to solve conflicts between others? There are many different types of conflict management styles. However, which styles should we use? Firstly, we need to determine the behavior of the other parties, and it is based on two dimensions of concern, which is concern for others' needs and concern for your own needs. This means that we need to weigh these two needs and see which one has a higher priority at the point of time. Then, a conflict management style can be chosen. Based on the two dimensions mentioned in the previous slide, it will result in three types of behaviors. Firstly, an aggressive behavior is when there is high concerns for your needs and low for the other's needs. This means that you see your own needs as more important than the others, thus giving an aggressive behavior as you are willing to fight for your needs. Secondly, an assertive behavior has a moderate concern for your own and others' needs. Thirdly, a passive behavior is when you have low concern for your own needs and high concern for other needs. This means that others' needs are more important than yours, and you are willing to give in to others. Now, we'll be covering more on each behavior. A person with aggressive behavior will portray body language, like being stiff and straight, pointing or banging of the table to emphasize a point, or folding of arms. Their verbal language will be very demanding and hurtful, like the examples shown in the slide. A person with passive behavior will have body language like avoiding eye contact, stoop posture, speaks softly, or is often fidgeting around. Their verbal language will be apologetic and unconfident, as shown in the slide. A person with assertive behavior will have body language like standing up straight, appear composed, smiles, or maintain eye contact. Their verbal language will be welcoming, like shown in the slide. Based on the behavior covered in the previous slides, you will need to apply the correct management styles to resolve the conflict. There are 5 conflict management styles to choose from. Firstly, the avoiding conflict style is whereby one tries to avoid a conflict and do not do anything at all. This will usually work when a problem or conflict will go away by itself. Secondly, accommodating conflict style is whereby both parties find ways to accommodate with each other. This is when someone is in a passive behavior and is willing to put others' needs before himself. Thirdly, forcing conflict style is when one does not give in and force his way through. Aggressive behaviors, as mentioned before, will cause this style of management, as this person is fighting for his needs. Therefore, he demands others to follow his way. Fourth, negotiating conflict style, whereby both parties negotiate with each other on a way to resolve the conflict. This is an assertive way of solving the conflict and will likely to result in better understanding among the two parties. Lastly, a collaborating conflict style, whereby both parties work together to resolve the conflict. This style could be used when there is more time for discussion to solve the conflict. So, which style do you think is the best way to solve conflicts? Write your thoughts down on your cadet manual, and your cadet inspector will review it with you in the next training. Whenever we respond to conflict, one should have an open mindset. Understand the main intention of the initiator and judge whether it makes sense. Agree to a certain extent, ask or give alternative solutions, and make agreement for change. All these points are important as it helps us to understand the other party better. If we are able to look at their point of views, we are better able to approach the conflict with a solution, as we will know where everyone is coming from and what everyone is thinking. You might also want to use the whack them method to assist you in conflict management. First, you ask what is bothering you, followed by what you want to ask the person to do, and check if what you have asked for can happen. This method helps you to find the cause of the conflict, and then finding a possible solution for both parties to resolve the conflict. In summary, managing conflicts is an important skill that everyone should have, as we are facing with conflicts every day, and if it's not dealt with effectively, it will affect one's productivity and may result in hard feelings. To ensure that you can resolve the conflict effectively, keep in mind the behavior of the person and apply the right managing conflict style. We have come to the end of managing conflict lecture. We hope you have gained more insights on how to manage a conflict effectively. Should you have any questions pertaining to this lecture, feel free to approach any of your cadet inspectors. Thank you.